This is my RX7, and it has a turbo K20 swap in it. Now I know what you're thinking, this guy isn't man enough to drive an RX7 with a rotary in it. And you'd be right, but I'm not a rotary hater. I have an RX8 that has a rotary in it, and it's great. I just wanted to make the RX7 better, and I don't think that you should be limited on what you modify your car with down to only one manufacturing brand. Which is why this car has parts from Honda, Ford, Chevrolet, and even Volvo. I've owned this car for over 4 years now, and it's still far from complete. While I'd love to do more work on this car, every time I look at it, my bank account drains to zero. So I'm making this video to recap everything we've done so far to get it where it is now. And hopefully, if you share this video enough with your friends, the ad revenue can help me afford the next modification.
I've wanted this car for a long time, and it's finally happening. I can't believe it's happening. I'm spending way too much money for a non-running car.
This is my new-to-me 1993 Mazda FD RX7, and this is actually a very special car for me because it's my attainable dream car, and I can't believe that I've finally attained it. The first step to K-swapping an RX7 is to take the rotary engine out and replace it with a K20. That was already done by the previous owner. This was mostly for cost-effective reasons, as it saves me having to run around and source parts. But the swap was abandoned halfway, so we had to go through everything and start fresh. This is the body harness. I took the car to ASM in Wisconsin to work with the K-swap expert, Andy Smedegard.
We've got a K-swap and an FD. The motor's in the car, but we're gonna pull it back out. We're gonna pull everything out and try to go through everything. Being a project car that someone else had their hands on, and this car probably hasn't ran for, I don't know how long, 10 years probably. We need to kind of really go through everything. Got a crack in an oil pan, so we'll probably do a new oil pan.
The engine isn't even able to hold oil because there's a giant crack in it. We threw on a new steel baffled oil pan and as many new accessories as we could to make sure the engine was fresh. With the modified engine cradle out of the car, I cleaned it up and painted it to make sure that it wouldn't rust. With the engine ready to go, we fixed a few issues on the transmission and got it put all back together and back in the car. Even though everything is back in the car, we ended up changing almost everything about this setup. This drive shaft, for example, ended up having a lot of vibration. But we needed to start somewhere. We needed to get this car to operate first before we could improve things. But I couldn't stand to look at that ridiculous ride height for much longer. So I went to Fortune Auto to get some fresh coilovers. So we're here at Fortune Auto because we're going to build some Fortune Auto 510s for my FD. With the fresh coilovers on the car, we put our focus back on the drivetrain. The oil pan was hitting the steering rack, so we had to make some more modifications.
So we just simply cut this front section where the steering rack bolts on. We just cut that and moved it forward probably about 1 centimeter, just a little bit, to make a little more clearance between the engine and the steering rack.
You don't realize how many new parts are needed until you start a fresh build. Some of it is nice to have, but some of it is required.
There's so many things with a motor swap that take a lot of time, and we kind of got a little head start having some of this stuff already done for us from the previous owner. Some of it a few steps backwards. Some of it was done, but some of it we had to redo. We found quite a few little issues, but tackle them as they come.
We did a bunch of work all at once. Some of it was cosmetic, but most of it was required just to get the car to run. We'll focus on making it look nice later. I am removing the fuel pump to put a bigger fuel pump in, like you do with most builds that are going to make more than stock power. We installed a functioning fuel pump, put working brakes in the car, and then Andy showed me some of his wiring witchcraft skills to get the engine harness connected to the car and the standalone ECU. The engine ran, but ran terribly. We found a really strange leak in the intake manifold.
It's coming out where they grinded away part of this intake manifold where the EGR stuff sits.
This is what makes buying someone else's project difficult. You don't know what's wrong until you have it all put together. Andy and I joked about how it might have been easier to start a project like this from scratch, but there's no going back now. Phase 1 was complete, and the car was all properly assembled. I left the car with Andy for the next couple of weeks to work on the body harness wiring off camera. The engine technically runs, but there's still a lot of wiring work to be done before this resembles anything like a working car.
There's my beautiful FD outside. Oh, it looks so good out there. Yes. So good to see this thing again.
It does start, and it runs on its own, and it does move on its own. You've got working headlights, working turn signals, all the interior stuff's back and working, the windows, the wipers, all that stuff. The list is still definitely long, but making progress.
Sounds like a Civic. It's really hard to describe all of the extra work that needs to be done to this car. It's easy to look at it and see that it's running and driving and thinking, what else is left? I mean, it's running and driving. What more could you ask for?
So now we're kind of just starting to do the base tuning, get all the basic engine stuff kind of set up, make sure the VVC's working, the fans, all that stuff. Just all that simple stuff on a standalone, you kind of have to set up from scratch, essentially. The next stop is the dyno, so see what we can do for power. .365 wheel horsepower is the least amount of power that car will make. This is our lowest boost setting. Tach's all working, and we even have the actual mileage of the car now coming up. Had to ground one extra pin.
Well, I am very clearly back in my home garage now. I've got the FD pulled in here. What we're gonna do today is change out some of the bumpers.
We're changing the fenders out for feed-style fenders and a burnout-style front bumper. I wasn't really sure what color I wanted to paint the car, so I settled for a temporary wrap in 3M Dragonfire Red. I will paint the car eventually, though. It's amazing how much a color change can completely transform the look of a car. For the first time with any of my car projects, I'm going to start doing some appearance modifications. Carbon fiber for the sake of appearance rather than function.
A lot of this stuff is not functional, and I'm gonna be the first to admit that. I've never really built a car this way. I'm kind of taking a leap of faith and spending a lot of money on parts that effectively do nothing. This car looks really good, and so I want to keep enhancing that by putting some more of these carbon fiber parts on. It's mostly just because it looks cool. So we got the wing on now, and we got the diffuser on. I think it looks awesome. I'm super excited.
You've probably noticed by now that those are not stock wheels. They're actually loaner wheels that I got from a friend while I was waiting on my new wheels to arrive.
So the wheels I've decided to go with are Titan 7s. These are a 10-spoke wheel. I think it looks really good, and I like having strong wheels, and they're very light. I don't even know the exact weight on this size wheel, but it's very light because it's forged. It's designed specifically for the FD, so it's an 18x10 plus 50, which is a pretty odd-sized wheel.
While we were back at Andy's shop, we did some more mechanical upgrades as well. We put in a Volvo electric power steering pump and made a new battery mounting tray for a bigger battery to support the electric power steering pump. We put in a new steering wheel and swapped out the aluminum drive shaft for a steel drive shaft and put on a fluid damper on the engine to try to smooth out the engine's vibrations.
Maybe we'll turn the boost up. We put a boost controller in so we have a little bit better control over the boost. All right, well, we just got the car off the dyno and it made an amazing over 400 wheel horsepower, which is totally unnecessary. I do not need that much power. And we just finished off by putting some carbon fiber side skirts on the car, which again, completely unnecessary.
We're finishing up the look of this car with a chassis-mounted front splitter. This is mostly to protect the fiberglass bumper from any scraping or road debris that I might hit. All of this was to prepare for one of the most ambitious road trips that we had ever planned to take.
We're gonna be driving to every single contiguous state in the US, all 48 states.
Of course, this was the first time that I had ever properly driven this car around. We didn't have much time for planning ahead, so naturally, we found some issues.
Alternator was bad. This is why you test out cars before you drive them on 48 state road trips. I think my power steering is leaking. Okay, found the leak.
We knew it would have some issues because, you know, it's a new project build, it's still very fresh, there's a lot to figure out. But I think I need some spark plugs because the boost is cutting out on me when I get on to boost.
You're popping your hood more than I was expecting you to be on this trip.
Yeah, honestly, I am too. We got a lot of stuff done to this car. This whole front end has new stainless steel braided lines here. We got some softer motor mounts in, so less vibration. And we just got this new power steering line put on, so that's not gonna leak anymore.
Man, this car is so much better. It feels like a car now.
The car started acting a little bit weird. I got on boost and it was only making 12 pounds of boost. It should be making 17. Started looking around for a vacuum leak or something. I couldn't find anything. Then I bend down here and look at my front intercooler pipe and it's cracked. I'm gonna tape this and then just give it a pull and see what happens.
Naturally, this was the exact moment that Ben challenged me to a drag race, and like any good Honda owner, I couldn't turn that down even if I do have a boost leak.
How much boost is that thing making?
Oh yeah!
I'm still waiting on a Gorilla Tape sponsorship, but until then, we had to fix the intercooler pipe if I wanted to finish the road trip.
See the crack?
Yeah, she's big. Oof. That's okay. We can fix that.
And that was the last of our troubles with this car. It took a few thousand miles of driving to iron out the issues, but then the car became bulletproof.
States.
We did it.
We actually did it.
You made a big S2000 and I'm proud of you, buddy.
Well, by now you're probably wondering why the heck I bought another FD. And no, I'm not rotary swapping it. And no, I'm not LS swapping it either. I actually bought that car entirely for parts. I've been looking for a black interior for my Kswap FD since the day that I bought this car, and I haven't been able to actually find all the parts that I need. It's very difficult to find parts for these cars. So it was actually easier for me to buy an entirely new car. I bought it just to take the interior out of and put into this car, so I have a full, nice condition black interior.
There were a few other parts that I took off of the parts car as well, a 99 spec steering wheel and 99 spec rear taillights. With the interior complete, it had actually turned this car into a nice car to drive around town. It was at a point where I actually started to daily drive it. I could give this car all sorts of abuse and it would just take it. But there was still some drivetrain vibration that I wanted to smooth out, and I also wanted to future-proof the car by making it even stronger to hold more horsepower. So it's time for some more modifications.
So we got Mazda with a Honda. What are you gonna put in the back?
Ford. What's wrong with that?
Step one here is we're gonna get this stock RX7 diff out, and then we're gonna try mocking up our new Explorer diff.
These things are gonna look like little toothpicks once we show you the axles that we're gonna put in this thing.
Okay, so this is an 8.8 rear differential out of a 2007 to 10 Ford Explorer. You can find this literally in any junkyard. Found this one literally 15 miles from my house.
We had Aaron at TRE go through the new rear diff and make it stronger by shop peening and corner rounding the gears. Then we changed the ratios to a 355 and threw in a limited slip posi differential.
Yeah, we got it. They eating the Detroit True Track differential.
In order to get the massive Ford rear end to fit, we had to remove the rear subframe to make some modifications.
Okay. Yeah. So this is the front support bar. Billet stubs. Holy crap.
Unfortunately, the differential is so large that we ran into some clearance issues, but after a few modifications, we had it all lined up.
Ta-da! Drive shaft fits perfect.
In an effort to make this car more comfortable to drive, but also easier to work on, I'm opting for a different intake manifold and throttle body setup, removing the old S2000 setup and going for a K-Power manifold with a drive-by-wire throttle body.
This is a Camaro throttle pedal, just because we want more brands in this car. It is an electronic throttle, so we're gonna get rid of the cable system that's in the car and go to electronic. I want this car to be the most enjoyable driving experience that I can have.
Because we're gonna change up the throttle body, we need to redo some of the upper intercooler pipe. So we're basically gonna recreate this, but a little differently. So we got Vibrant, some new Vibrant intercooler piping. And most important reason we're swapping this valve cover is that. The next step, I think, is just getting it on the dyno.
We retuned the new throttle body and left the power level at 400. But since we're feeling a little frisky, I decided that I wanted a flame tune on the car so I could be like all my rotary flame shooting friends. Andy then told me that the proper way to break in a new diff is to do burnouts in his shop. I was feeling pretty cocky now. So cocky that I entered the car into an exhaust revving competition, something that I had never done before. But since I had this new flame shooting trick, I thought it would be fun.
Well, I blew up the RX7.
Yep, no compression.
Ben, this oil pan is just pretty nasty looking. There's a lot of debris in here.
It just blew it right out the bottom. Yeah, that's neat.
But thankfully,
This is a K series. So we'll just buy an engine off of eBay or Facebook.
Which is exactly what we've done. So this is a K20 Z1 out of a 2005 Acura RSX Type S.
The beauty of having a Kswap is that this cost me just around $1,000. We stripped down the donor motor and cleaned out and transferred over the rear-wheel drive specific parts to fit it back in the RX7.
So the K series is ready to go back in the RX7. The transmission's on, the turbo is on. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to hear this thing start up and shoot more flames.
Hey, that's the smooth K series.
We haven't done a ton of upgrades to this car lately, but I have been driving it hard. It's a great car. I can't wait to improve it even further. Comment below what you think we should do next. Personally, I'm thinking it might be time for a DCT swap, but I'm still trying to save up for that.